I call this meeting of the St. John Senate to order at 6 p.m. Roll call, Executive Assistant Seamer.
President Seaver.
Here.
Vice President Weekly. Here. Trustee Ungrad. Here. Treasurer Aiken.
Here.
Allocation Chair Stokes.
Here.
Public Relations Representative Webster. Here. Senator Pelkey. Here. Senator Elmy. Here. Senator Greider. Here. Senator Ricketts. Here. Senator Weber. Here. Senator Spalding. Here. Senator Wen. Here. Senator Flores. Here. Senator Thomas. Here. Senator Weir. Here. Senator Robinson. Here. Senator Simonet. Here. Advisor Kleist. Here. Advisor Terha. Here. And St. John Senate Representative.
Sorry, here. Sorry.
Moving on to letter C, opening reflection, Senator Wen.
Hello, ladies. So as you can see, you all have a coloring page in front of you. It's a adult, stress-free coloring page, and it's just something I've noticed that we've all been very stressed out this semester, excited for a long weekend, but I did some research and I found out that coloring pages, that it helps you with de-stressing because it elicits relaxing mindset and kind of like meditation. So today, I thought I'll play some music, we'll spend a couple minutes coloring, and then that will allow us to focus on today's agenda and make awesome choices. So go ahead.
Alright, ladies, pay attention to Senator Wen.
So now you can take the pages home, finish them, and de-stress. But yeah, other than that, I was doing my time.
Thank you, Senator Wen. Moving on to letter D, approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second. There's been a motion by Senator Weir and a second by Treasurer Tate. Are there any changes to last week's minutes? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of approving last week's minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes stand approved. Moving on to letter D, E, approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second. There's been a motion by Senator Robinson and a second by Senator Pelkey. Are there any changes to today's agenda? Vice President Weekly.
Motion to amend Roman numeral 4, letter C to read, motion to allocate $1,780 to the Office of the College Navigator to build the Benny Career Closet.
Without objection, the chair will accept this amendment. So now to move to vote to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda stands approved. Moving on to Roman numeral 2, guests, letter A, extended the link.
Hi everyone. So we're extending the link, and we are here to ask for a little bit of help on this year's upcoming project. So without further ado,
A little background on Extending the Link. ETL is a student-led documentary team that seeks to be a platform for social justice, for untold social justice issues, and a vehicle to really make that social change. Our motto is think globally, act locally, and we really do strive to do that. So our team is comprised of 20 Bennies and Johnnies, making up 19 different majors and minors. We really come from a broad expanse of academics, but together we are unified by our passion for social justice. Because we are producing a documentary in only 1 year, we do follow a fairly strict schedule. This past summer and into this fall, we've done a lot of research, as well as this upcoming winter break. We are looking forward to traveling to India, and this spring we will be working on production and our Act Local campaign. We have 11 years of we have 10 years of documentaries behind us, and this year we're focusing on water in India, as Grace will discuss, but some really important documentaries you may remember are Obasa, Avumwe, and Lame High. And what's really different about us is we don't just focus on one social justice issue, we really do focus on a broad expanse. Everything from mental health to electronic waste we cover, or have covered.
So, I've mentioned a little bit, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about our Act Local. So our films always cover both a domestic and international point of view for the story that we tell. But one thing that always takes our main focus is not only the story that we're telling, but how can we help students initiate change pertaining to this topic. So we always have an Act Local event on campus that we'll sponsor as well. The Fair Trade Coffee trend in Johnny Robbins Shoe and Clemens was inspired by our first documentary way back when. The Student CSA program through the Common Ground Garden was initiated by our Act Local 2 years ago. We do some e-waste recycling. We donate to PCs per People to help with some tech up partnerships with sustainability. And then a few years ago, our documentary focused on Karen refugees, and we sponsor a student scholarship every year, one in the fall, one in the spring, to help students. And this year, the scholarship representative was an incoming Johnny. So that was a really fun connection for us. That wasn't planned. We are an award-winning documentary team that we take a lot of pride in. Some of our really major accomplishments that we're very proud of is we are 2-time Midwest Emmy Award winner for the student chapter in Minnesota. So Gerkler and Ubumwe are both winners of that award, and we're hoping Loon High, this past year's documentary, will also be nominated for that. We are also currently under consideration for a Minnesota PBS independent film series. So within a month we'll know, and we're really hoping, so that'll be very exciting, that our films will be featured on PBS. While we are a small organization, we like to highlight that we have our hands in a lot of different cookie jars, and we really partner with as many organizations as possible, both on campus and outside, to both bring in external views for students as well as get as many students involved in our project as possible. So this year's topic, as was mentioned, is water in India. The team got our original inspiration from looking at pipeline protests going on, very present in the media, and how a lot of this topic that wasn't being told was the idea that water has a deeper spiritual and sacred connection to a lot of these people that are protesting that isn't being considered. So we took that idea and ran with it over the summer, researched all summer, and we saw a very interesting parallel between that argument and India and the Hindu religion and the Ganges River, and how that is life and spirit to the people there. So this year we are focusing on those stories. We will be traveling to India over winter break to film the international side. This upcoming weekend, for long weekend, we will be traveling to Bemidji to film our domestic side. We've been working with the Red Lake Band of Chippewa Indians, who is incredibly excited. It's been very inspiring and kind of a nice reaffirming to us having their enthusiasm within the project. And
So St. Ben's and St. John's are very much campuses that are rooted in global awareness and cultural competency. And within that, we feel that ETL is very much a part of that backbone, and we do fulfill so much that St. Ben's and St. John's stands for. Within that, we also fall in line with many, if not all, of the Benedictine traditions of listening, justice, stewardship. We want to tell these people's stories as they say it, not the way we want to project it upon them. As well as just additional things. We are looking to make this an FAE, just more on-campus
opportunities for
opportunities.
So now that you know a little bit about Extending the Link and what we're all about, now we're here to talk about the budget, what we're asking for. So we're asking for 3/5 of our international travel costs for our bennies. We have 3 going this year. So you can see the projections up on the screen and on your papers as well. Some things to note that these are estimates. These are based off of research. We've done a lot of research looking at flights and what each various category typically costs. We consulted with members of our team who have studied abroad in India, so they also do have a good idea and grasp on what things cost. And then we also benchmark with our past year's costs for traveling. So while these aren't exact numbers, we're fairly confident that they're accurate. So 3/5 of our costs for 3 bennies would total about $4,750. But we're only going to ask for $4,500. And I know this is more than what Extending the Link has asked for in the past. So Grace is just going to kind of explain that.
Yeah, so one new element that we are working with this year is a new requirement that all campus organizations funded by the school that are traveling internationally need to travel with a faculty advisor at the expense of the organization. So that is a very large expense that we kind of, well, first of all, didn't budget into our original starting from last year budget, and we're just informed about that in September. So we're very excited about the international or the educational opportunity that that provides, but it is a hit on our budget. So while we have been trying to create a more sustainable source of revenue as a team and kind of pull off of institutional funding a little bit, the money that would have been reserved for a smaller request from Senates now is being allocated toward paying for an advisor.
And so going off of that, we just kind of wanted to highlight all our fundraising efforts throughout the year to make producing a documentary possible. We start with a beginning balance of about $9,700, which is kind of high for Extending the Link. But I'd just like to note that we're strongly advised every year to have about $5,000 as like a safety net per se, because we do travel internationally. So if anything comes up, or there's always unexpecteds when you travel, we'd have the funds to cover whatever needed. And also, we do try to put on lots of events that involve our students and also our community to help us fundraise for the year. And also, I'll note that on your sheets it says we're ending up with $5,000 at the end of the year, and just want to reiterate that that's our reserve we like to have year after year in case of emergencies.
So, to conclude, we are really trying to bring a new perspective on a very new, undertold issue to campus, and we greatly appreciate your support and your help in this process. And if you have any questions, we can open that up now.
Yep.
Now.
Yeah,
Open
thanks
that
so
up.
much. Are there any questions for our guests today? Vice President Weekly.
Thank you guys so much for coming. I always like to hear what your new ideas for the year, so it's awesome to hear. I just have a point of clarification. So you explained that the money that you would have previously used, like kind of extra money from your own funding that you would have previously used on yourselves is now being put towards faculty advisor, and that's why the price went up this year?
Yes.
For us? Okay, perfect. I return my time.
Are there any other questions for our guests today? Seeing none, thank you very much. All right, moving on to Roman numeral 2, letter B, Outdoor Leadership Center. Oh, there's a thing that can make that buzzing stop. It's just kind of crazy.
Cookie. Anyone?
Great, well, thank you so much for the women here, Reverend Benedicts and Representative Milo from St. John's. Thanks for having us. My name is Hudson Eschler, and I'm the manager of the Outdoor Leadership Center.
And I'm Maggie Myers, and I'm a co-worker at the Outdoor Leadership Center.
Great, so we're here today to present our funding to you all, and we are an on-campus organization, the Outdoor Leadership Center. We're located under Mary. What we do is we rent out gear to students that want to enjoy the outdoors. We also put on some clinics, and the idea is to put on some trips as well this year, kind of touching base and getting going on that. So today we're here to ask St. Ben's for the funding of $2,550 for all of the activities we have planned for the year, and we'll go through our PowerPoint and break down what the activities are and how the funding will lay out. First of all, we have the BAMP Film Festival, and how this works is we work with the Peer Resource Program, PRP, and the Outdoor University. What the Outdoor University does is they have PRP and OLC help get the funding for this, and they're actually the kind of the brains behind this operation, whereas PRP gets the funding for the people to be lodged and getting them here. And this money right here is actually going to be used for the companies to be paid for the films. So that's what the $2,500 is going to be used for, and that's kind of our big fall event. And it attracts about 300 people a night. We do 2 nights of showing. It's kind of one of the things that defines the OLC and the outdoor leadership and the outdoor U.
One of our up-and-coming events in about less than a month here is our Adventure Challenge, and along with another coworker, I'm co-leading it. And essentially, it's just kind of a fun challenge to celebrate the fall season. We kind of incorporate a lot of different things at the campus. So we've got using the rock wall and down by the lake, and then we eventually make our way to WATAB, and it's open to all students and faculty on both campuses. And essentially, our funding is just to help with getting some food for the finish line for all of our participants, and then supplies. We have a pumpkin carving aspect of the race, so that kind of goes towards that. And then we are asking for a little bit for prizes as well for our winners.
Great. And we also thought it'd be a good idea as the winter season is starting to kick off here, just do the classic How to Camp. This will be taking place at WATAB. The funding request is $30, which is the reservation fee for WATAB. The idea is to bring students out and teach them how to set up tents, all the basics, just so that they can get that initial idea of how to camp, how to do it, make things easy for them, and make the outdoor leadership accessible to them with the resources that we do have.
Another event we're hoping to get going soon is with the allowance of hammocks being used on campuses now. We're going to have a little hammock and chili cook-off. So once we get our hammocks at the OLC, we're gonna get together and on both campuses probably just kind of hang out, invite everyone. You can bring your own hammocks, you can rent it from the OLC, and then we'll just have some chili to kind of celebrate. Hopefully we can get it going before it gets too cold, but the goal is to just kind of inform students that we are now going to have hammocks on campus and that it's a fun activity to do with your friends.
And so the legislature behind the hammocking was considered illegal by St. John's campus as of last year, but the OLC worked together to write the policy for that, and right now it's being written into the St. John's handbook. So once we get that, it's approved and we're good to go. It's just being written in right now. So once we get that final check mark and we're good to go, we can kick these things off. So every year we do the medallion hunt, and this is a big thing that we do, and we send out daily kind of like clues to where we're hiding this medallion. And I think that some of you guys know that you end up finding 15, 20, 30 people walking around in a certain area of the Arb or St. Ben's every year trying to find this medallion. So we're asking for $100 to help fund the medallion itself. This is something that we give out as kind of like an incentive for people to get outside. And every year it's been a big hit, and it just keeps getting bigger. So that's the medallion hunt, and that'll be coming around when it gets a little bit colder out, so we can kind of get people out touching base in that part of the season as well, because that's sometimes people don't love it when it's very colder.
Another event that we're hoping to put on just to get more people involved in the idea of the OLC is a paracord bracelet making, and this we're hoping to get going this year right here at St. Ben's. And essentially it's just a fun activity. The goal is like in an emergency you could use a paracord as rope to help if you're, I don't know, if you're stuck on a cliff or any other situation where you might need some rope, but just making it available to your CSB and SU students to kind of build their own is the goal here, so just $80 to buy the supplies for that.
Great. So with these things, this is kind of the gear list, and I'll go over this in a second. But the idea, we wanted to get some more events going on St. Ben's as well. So our best idea is initially try to plan it at St. Ben's, the medallion hunt being one, paracord bracelet being one, maybe even how to cook on the mall, or how to camp on the mall. So we need to have more of a St. Ben's, St. John's at the OLC, even though it's located at St. John's. That's another thing. So if you guys are putting anything on, let us know if there's, I know we do something in the spring together, but if there is any aspect that you want us to be included on, please reach out to us because we'd love to do it. Okay, so getting towards the gear, the things that we want to see new at the OLC. First is the hammocks. And what we'll be going with is because we're an organization, we can get a deal, and we'll be ordering 12 hammocks with the straps, and it'll cost $500. And we think that should suffice right off the bat. Let's hopefully we come back for more funding for hammocks as the weather gets nice again and people are kind of just hanging out outside. And then rollerblades, we are kind of at that turnaround moment where we need some new rollerblades. They're kind of getting to be a liability, not really, but it's kind of it's time to switch them around. So for the safety of the Johnnies and Bennies, we're asking for some new rollerblades.
And on top of that, we've noticed a lot that we have Bennies coming to rent rollerblades from us as well, and our sizes we kind of like to balance out to have more size availability for the Bennies that are coming to rent from us as well.
We had a big this last fishing season. We've had a lot of people come in because the St. John's fishing club isn't prevalent on campus anymore, and they're not around. So we've had a lot of young Johnnies and Bennies asking where they can find an outlet for this. So we thought that if we make a small investment in some fishing gear, it would allow them to fulfill their fishing careers, right? We're also looking at new sports balls. These get wrecked every single semester, and as unfortunate as it is, we're gonna just get a little bit higher quality soccer balls and footballs just so that they can last a little bit longer, which is the idea. And then so College Bound is a big thing that happens with PRP, and that is a big toll on our equipment. So we have lots of tents and sleeping bags right now that should be perfectly functioning, except for they're missing either just the strings in between the poles or just have small breaks in one pole. So rather than ordering big sets and new tents and things, we're just going to ask for $75 for the repairs of these tents, and there's a couple patching kits we need for the sleeping bags as well to maintain this so that everyone can keep it going. We've got the Duluth trip, yeah.
Yeah, so we're hoping this fall to bring some students up to Duluth, just and especially people that are from out of state, just to get up the shore a little bit. Personally, I'm from Duluth, and it's really pretty up there right now. So if we can get up there when the leaves are still changing, probably that would be really fun. And it would just be a day trip. We rent a bus from the campuses and head up the shore, explore Gooseberry Falls and that state park, do some hiking, and then go down to Canal Park and explore the bridge and kind of explain how the shipping situation works up there, and just kind of show people around the other parts of Minnesota that maybe they don't quite get to down here.
And this will be a day trip rather than it kind of differs from PRP where they do weekend trips. So something that the student can just do within a day and come back. We thought that'd be a good help with everybody. So finally we have the OLC. We're trying to get more of a more modern design and feel to the Outdoor Leadership Center, and what we felt in the past couple of years is numbers have kind of been going down, so the idea is we want to spark this back up with a new feel to the OLC. Our logo was created in 1993 when it was first opened, so we're a little bit out of date and it's hard to compete with all the great organizations that are on St. John's St. Ben's. So we do have an artist lined up. We've met with them and they've committed to doing this. And so he's a graphic designer out of Eau Claire, and he's designed the album cover for Sylvan Esso, which is a big artist. He designed all of the gear for the Eau Claire Music Festival. And then Lizzo is a big someone that he's made both of her album covers. So it's like, if people kind of understand who these people are for the OLC to like have this connection, it's just like mind-boggling, and we're so excited about it. So we're hoping this will bring more people in. It'll kind of get our ideas out to everyone, instead of rather than our logo now, we're gonna have something that'll really express who we are and what we're trying to get after. So that's, the $500 will be going into Dan Wagner's art, and he'll be working as more of like a consultant with us and a brander himself. So he'll be helping us brand throughout the whole year, and we can go back to him with questions or if we need modifications on something. So he signs on to the team in some ways of our brand. Great.
All right.
That's all for us. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer.
Are there any questions for our guests today? Trustee Angarat.
Thank you so much for coming out. I have a couple of questions. So for the hammock and chili, is the $50 for the chili?
Great. So the $50 is we have $30 to rent out Watab,
Okay.
and $20 is through the reef we have to get gloves, and we have to get the necessities of like their utensils, and then the other funding would be the people providing their own chili. But that's where that $50 will be going.
Okay. And for the adventure challenge, you said I just want to clarify that it's open to the faculty members as well?
Yes.
Okay. And it's $225 for food.
No, it also includes supplies. So a big part of it is our pumpkin carving part of the race. So we have to kind of fund for those pumpkins and the materials necessary to carve them. And then we also had a section we put off for a prize for our winning team.
And my final question has to do with the OLC branding. I was just wondering if you contacted the marketing department to see if they would do it for less money or no money at all.
Yeah, we actually reached out to the student body a few weeks ago, and we got some great submissions back. Nothing that we felt, well, actually we got a lot of submissions. We're gonna try to make stickers out of some of them because they're awesome. And the idea is we tried working with these people that sent in logos, which was great, but there was nothing really that represented who we were, and even when we sent some emails back, it was just, we needed more of like a professional setting to help like promote the professionalism behind us and what we're trying to get at. So we did reach out to groups and the student body as well.
Thank you. I return it back.
Senator Robinson.
Thank you for coming. I was just some clarifications for your numbers. So you're asking for $2,550, but when you add all of those numbers together that you put on the board, does not equal that price.
240, 250. So yeah, I mean that's great. We could do that as well. We just measured all that out. It was 500. We're gonna do percentages for St. John, St. Ben's because located at different areas. But we just kind of threw it all in and did a 50-50 recently.
So all of our funding together equals about a little over 5,000. And the goal was that in splitting some of our events between the two campuses that we could go for about a 50-50 from each. So we are presenting to St. John's next Monday, and I know on the slide it's the entire price. So like an example, the hammock and chili, it's at $50 on there. We'd be asking for 25 from both instead of 50 from each. If that clarifies a little.
Thank you for that clear.
Yeah.
Right to my time.
Senator Weir.
Strike.
Treasurer Tate.
Alright, so going off of Senator Robinson's question, so is there a reason you guys decided to ask for funding for your whole event, for the entire year's event instead of breaking it down by semesters? Like, what do you? Is it by semesters?
Yeah.
It is by semesters. Okay, so this is just for fall semester.
Correct.
Okay, so you may not know this, but is there a reason the funding is significantly higher than previous years?
Yeah, it's because Banff has gone up. It was $4,000 last year, and it's $6,500 this year. And that's kind of one of our big stepping stones that we're asked by Outdoor U to include that in ours. And that's kind of one of our big events, so we do continue it every year. But it's Banff is what the big thing was this year.
Thank you so much.
Senator Greiger.
Thank you so much for coming out. I just have a question going back to Trustee Angarag's about the Adventure Challenge. Are you allowed to do pumpkin carving on campus, or I thought that wasn't a sustainable thing with Res Life? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, we've met with Res Life as well as security at St. John's, and the idea is that what the pumpkins will be used during the race and then collected at the end of the race, and then the CSB Eagle House has actually requested that we bring them all of our scraps at the end, and they're gonna compost all of that. So that was kind of the idea with the pumpkins this year.
Great, thank you. I just only know about that because I wanted to do a pumpkin and I wasn't allowed to. So thank you for clearing that up. I return my time.
Vice President Weekly.
I just have a few quick, more trivial questions. With the purchasing new balls, will you guys be getting new volleyballs?
Yeah.
So I know that was a huge struggle
Yes.
with volleyball this year. Not having volleyballs. And also with the new t-shirts and branding that you guys are going to be making, will you just be selling those generally so all students can purchase, or is it just for employees, or how's that gonna work?
So the idea about the branding is this money is going towards the creating of a logo, and it's going towards this guy working with us, and we're going to be getting things to give out. So the idea would be like stickers and things like that. But it's for everybody because we're at like a point where we just want people to know who we are, what we're doing. But no, it's not for us at all.
Okay. And also, I know that we paid a significant chunk of money for PRP to put on the Banff event, so I'm just wondering where other funding besides us is coming from the Banff.
Yeah, Outdoor University is the other big.
Okay. Do
So-
you have any, or can you disclose how much they're contributing, or is that private everywhere?
So I think PRP asked for 1,000, and I think that we're doing 2,500, and I think that the Outdoor U covers the rest. And so that's where that will all be going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I return my time.
Senator Simonet.
Thank you both so much for coming in today. I have two questions. First of all, could you just clarify what the OLC is covering for Banff? What the OLC, what your specific contribution towards the film festival is?
Yeah, so to have a film festival, it's really expensive, and these are high quality films that have been shown in Banff, which is in Canada, and it's a big film festival. So what we're doing is we have 2 nights that this is going on, November 15th and 16th. Each night, the staff gets together and we choose 10 of the films that'll be shown on the first night, and then we get together the next night and choose 10 of the films for the next night. And this is all done with a representative from Banff. they come down and they bring like prizes and things like that that are like given out as it's just part of the organization that they have at Banff. But the $2,500 that we have is going directly towards like the showing of the movies. And to put that into some clarification, last year we were going to do a 45-minute showing of a video, and it cost $600 just for a 45-minute video being shown. So as much as $6,000 sounds, it's a pretty good deal for what we're getting.
I have one more question. The second question is, so my family came over family weekend, and we wanted to ride bikes on the Wobegon, and we wanted to get them from St. Ben's. And from the HCC, and when we first went there, we got 2 keys, and then the bikes happened not to be there. So we went back down, and then we got another key to another bike, and the seat fell off, and it was just, by the time we got like an okay bike, it was time for us to go to a concert. So I just really see that there's not the same quality of equipment at St. Ben's, and that there's not really the presence of an OLC at St. Ben's. And sometimes as a Benny, that's a little frustrating because I might want to go biking around St. Ben's or use rollerblades or get equipment. So I was wondering, because we are paying, if we were to pay on the St. Ben's, then it would be paying half of it. So I just want to make sure that Bennies have the same accessibility to the equipment and towards the adventures. So is that being addressed by the OLC, or if you could speak towards that?
Yeah, that's definitely one of our primary concerns, and we have had an issue in the past of that we haven't been able to come over to St. Ben's for as many things just because we have bigger loads of gear. To speak specifically on the bikes, just first of all, we have been given the bike share. We've been put in charge of maintaining bikes. So we're hoping that'll help the bike situation itself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so St. John's is where the Outdoor Leadership Center is located. Meaning we'd love to have an opportunity to be at St. Ben's. However, the rec desk, when as soon as we say we'd like to have more of a presence over here, then it's automatically the people on the rec desk in this area of St. Ben's. There's a conflict there. But yeah, so that just is St. John's and St. Ben's. We're going to have our events over here just as much as we are going to at St. John's. And if that makes sense, it would even more events at St. Ben's as at St. John's. It's just there is lots of gear that needs to go back and forth, and with underclassmen that don't necessarily have cars on campus. We have 2 seniors this year, so it is a little bit hard for us, and that's something we recognize.
Public Relations Representative Webster.
Hi, I really like the idea of the Duluth trip. That sounds really fun. But I just had one question about the Banff Film Festival as well. So has there ever been any conversation about students paying anything for a ticket, especially if the prices go up so high?
Yeah, so right now it's $10 for faculty,
Yeah.
free for students. That actually conversation I don't think is something that should be presented to students. I think that where we go and what we have the ability to fund something like this and give students that opportunity to have a free something that they need to go to, and it doesn't need to be any elitist anything about anything at all, so it can be free to everybody. That's where I don't think that it is necessary.
Senator Robinson.
Besides the How to Camp event that you're planning, is there any other thing you guys are searching for or planning on doing to introduce students who aren't used to the outdoors, that everyone is all the bennies and Johnnies are being utilized through that office?
I think a big one is the Adventure Challenge, just because it incorporates a lot of different things on campus, and even like the rock wall and the beach, which aren't necessarily through the OLC, like it opens up that that those things are there and that they're accessible for both campuses to use. But then as well, we use a lot of our own equipment during the race, and so it kind of opens it up to understand we do have all this gear and it's available for everyone to get out and use. And then whenever we get new equipment, I think it's a really exciting thing to have events that show off our new equipment. So the hammocks is a big one that we really want everyone to know we have now. So we're gonna put on an event for that. And then
in the winter if we get like new snowshoes or skis that we put on events like how to go out into the Argonne snowshoe or how to find the ski trails at St. John's, and just putting those kind of events on so that everyone can get out and try these new experiences. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for our guests today? Senator Thomas.
Not really a question, but I just wanted to say thank you for coming and good job. I know we gave you a lot of questions and things like that. You answered very well. I think you all did a good job, and thank you for your contribution to CSB SJU.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our guests today? Seeing none, thank you very much. All right, moving on to letter C, Hannah Salto.
Hi everyone, bear with me, I'm sick, I'm fighting it the best I can. Also, I miss this so much. Less than a year ago I was sitting where Sydney is sitting, so I'm like, oh, I want to say something. Yield your time to me. It's good to be back here in a different capacity though. So we're going to be presenting on the Benny Career Closet, which is an initiative that we'll explain a little further later on. So I'm Hannah Salto. I recently graduated and I'm now working at St. Vincent St. John's as the college navigator, which essentially is a position where I work with first generation students, so helping kind of that underrepresented population get represented on campus.
And then I'm Cindy Robinson. I am the Advocates for Inclusive Mentoring Student Services Intern under Marian Geller, so within the Student Development Office. And my job is to serve the underrepresented bennies on campus who need mentorship so that we can build a retention rate between the underclassmen to upperclassmen.
And another key person who's been working with us really closely is Marsha Malum in athletics. She works under Mary and was designated by Mary to be the point person. Thank you. It's a different kind of initiative that we're here. We're not a student club or organization. I work here, and we're technically housed under student development in various different positions. We're here asking for funding because the initiative that we have has been taken on by so many different departments, but isn't necessarily worked into any of those departments' budgets. For example, if you use my budget, that would be my whole budget for the year. And because it serves specifically Benny students, we thought that the Senate would be a good place to go. Kind of like IWL comes to you for events. They're technically housed under student development, but they also ask for funding for certain things.
So what exactly is the closet? This is going to be a career closet so that bennies who do not have the funds to be able to just go out to the store at any time, any out-of-state or international students who find out last minute that they have a job interview or something professional dress that they need to be at that they don't have the means to get there, we want to be able to have something in-house on campus that they have access to. One of the big things is that we want it for bennies by bennies. So all of the donations that we are asking for are coming from alumni. So we are working through the alumni office to get a lot of these things so that we can serve our public, keep our connection, as well as maintain the size inclusiveness. That is my big thing, to make sure everyone has something appropriate and something decently fashionable to wear if they have any of these things to be at. I'm currently working on the Benny Career Closet webpage, which will feature different things such as how to wear certain lengths of pants with shoes, what is considered appropriate for something business casual, something for professional dress, meetings, as well as the student reference sheet. And with this reference sheet, it's not necessarily, oh, we're only going to let you come and only this type of person come. It's more for us so we can make sure that we have inventory, that if there is an influx of students coming, we have enough students that are staff being there so that everyone can be served in the same capacity as if we only had one person there. And then, as you know, a big part of my job is serving for the SD 2020 Initiative for Holistic and Transformation of Women, and this purpose serves it completely to make sure that all women have the access for the professional dress, and we just want to make sure that it's as easy and accessible as for students who are able to just drive whenever they want to get what they need.
So I emailed back and forth with MC a lot today because we originally had requested a lot more money, and then had to scale back, thinking of ways we can be sustainable on campus. So what things can we reuse, maybe through maintenance and everything like that. So the total cost of the closet, as it stands right now, you can see the little $11,450. And that includes kind of the construction, filling it with furniture, building the shelves, things like that, as well as 2 student employment positions that will be housed in student development, specifically to work at this closet, staffing it during hours, particular hours for students, as well as separating donations, collecting the donations when they get dropped off, things like that. And then we have already gotten $8,000 of that funded. Vice President Geller has been very generous in donating some of the materials, as well as saying she would cover those student employment positions. And then maintenance also has helped us out with building some of the things kind of pro bono. But some of the things that we're still going to need, so the room has 2 dressing rooms, which maintenance built a wall partition for us and everything. But we're gonna need curtains to hang there for students, because we know how dressing rooms work. Shoe racks is one thing that we're gonna need. Portable racks, so we're gonna have a staging area where all the donations can be stored, because the room itself isn't necessarily very large, so we can't do both in one room. So we'll need racks to transport back and forth. Right now, the room we have reserved is in Ricarda, so it's not, and the room that we have for the closet is in the lower level of Murray Hall, so not super convenient. Jewelry displays, mirrors for the dressing rooms. We know that we don't get dressed and just take something without seeing it. Lamps we would like to get, because the lighting, similar to this lighting in this room, but just one row of lights, not great. A mirror for the jewelry area, and hangers, and then bins as well to store some of the donations in. So that comes to $1,780, which is the adjusted amount that was amended at the beginning. And then this next slide will show you our progress so far. So we took a conference room from the bottom of Murray, and I'm very excited about it. It doesn't look like much to you probably, but when I saw it, I was really excited. So you can see we've got 2 hanging racks on the left side for shorter items like blouses, skirts, things like that. Longer hanging area for dresses, pantsuits, things like that. And then the 2 dressing rooms will be in the back, and you can see they're separated by that wall partition. And we'd be definitely willing to send you photos when it's all finished too.
And then if you guys have any questions or concerns for us.
Are there any questions for our guests today? Trustee Angarad.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited about this. My first question, actually my only question, is when do you guys expect to finish this by?
Yeah, so we're gonna be up and running by November 1st. Yeah, so it was a really, this conversation has been ongoing a lot over the years kind of on campus between a lot of different people, and finally we all came together and said, we need to stop talking about it and do it. And Mary Geller was like, yeah, you're right. So do it by November 1st. Career Expo is on the 8th. That's when we need it by. So we're having our donations. Our first preliminary drop off will be on the 19th of October. And then we'll have shipment arrive by the 24th of October and have that all arranged and set up by then so that students can use it for the expo.
And one more question, how would students go about getting donated, to rent something from the closet?
So we're not necessarily doing renting, we are providing these for the students. So the way Mary Geller has it framed is that you can get a complete outfit so that it can last you your 4 years while you're here. Because you never know when you're just gonna need a blazer, when you need tops. We wanna make sure that we're as accommodating as possible. We are sending this out through the newsletter, we'll put some in the bulletin boards, as well as during one of the all staff meetings, we're gonna make sure that they tell all the faculty about this so that they can get the word out to their students, especially FYS classes and any ethics seminar classes.
And students themselves will go on to the website that Sydney is creating, and there's a link that just has a request form for them to fill out with some general information about who they are so that we have that to track our data to say, oh, who has actually applied, so that it's not just we can have set hours and let them know when that is.
Thank you. I return my
Senator Simonette.
Thank you both so much for coming in. This is very exciting and it's happening very quickly, so thank you for working so hard. I'm just wondering how it will work with making sure that students that need the clothing will be getting the clothing, because I could see it happening where all students want to send in a request, or all students want to get an outfit for 4 years, because nevertheless professional clothing is very expensive even if you are part of the upper middle class or the upper class. So how will you make sure that the resources are distributed to the students who do need it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we went back and forth on a couple of ideas with this because that is an issue that may come up. So we had initially started thinking that it would be a referral process. So faculty and staff could refer students, or students could ask to be referred. But then we thought that that was just creating another barrier for those students who already have so many barriers. So I think initially, right now at the start of it, we're putting faith in our bennies and saying that people won't misuse it. And if we find out that, after we've been in progress for a couple of months, that is what's happening, we'll have to revisit that. But I think right now we're just taking a leap of faith that the bennies who need it will use it, and the bennies who don't need it will allow the bennies who need it to use it.
Yeah, on another note, part of the referral process is you have to tell us your purpose for using it. So you can't just say, oh, I need this outfit just in case. Like, you have to tell us, oh, I'm going to Career Expo. Oh, I'm going to an off-campus interview. Like, we want to know why you need it, not necessarily like financial or like burden reasons, but like what event and purpose do you need these for? So I think the fact that we want proof of what you're going to be doing should just be things for people not to think, oh, this is just somewhere in the shop, we get something real quick. Like, we want to make sure that people who need it are actually getting it.
Senator Greiger.
Thank you guys for coming in. So I'm just going to build off of Trustee Agarwal's point, because I had a follow-up question from that. So you mentioned that like a Benny gets an outfit for 4 years is kind of like the process or the thought. Have you considered or looked into like a rental system? I know that you said like you get to keep it, but like if a Benny would want potentially more than one outfit, like can they rent one, return it, and like do another one, or is it like one thing for?
Right, so it's not necessarily you get this one outfit for all 4 years. Okay, so I gained 30 pounds in college. I'm not going to fit it in the outfit that I got in my first year, and I think a lot of women's bodies change in college. So it's not necessarily like, oh, you came here once, your freshman or your first year, you can't come again. But we talked about rental as well. The problem with that is finding ways to clean the outfits properly, and some of them are dry clean only, how to go about that. So definitely not saying that bennies can't come back. And the attire is different for different events, right? So if someone comes in and wants something business casual, but then they have another event that's much more business, we're not going to turn people away and say, oh no, you've already been here.
Okay, great, thank you. I return it.
Vice President Weebly. Sure. Senator Thomas.
Sure.
Treasurer Tate.
Thank you so much for presenting and coming and seeking funding from the CSB Senate. I was just wondering how you're going to ensure that all bennies of different shapes and sizes get to find an outfit.
So that was one of my biggest concerns going into all these meetings, that we are size inclusive. And one of the big concerns that they had was like, oh, what if people are just want to give us money, we have to go shopping for it? So we're making sure that we tell people these are the sizes we're looking for, and when we are accepting donations, we're gonna say, hey, we need size 24 and up, we need size 00. Like, we wanna make sure that everyone has something to look appropriate in and all can fit, because everyone's not the same on the top, the same as the bottom. We all look different, we all shape different, we all have different styles. So I wanna make sure we're as accommodating as possible, because when you look your best, you do your best.
So what happens if you don't get a particular size?
We have talked, so we're working with the alum office on getting these sent out. And it really depends too on the deadline of if they come in time to get that. But sending out a specific email to alum saying we need these donations of these sizes, we're missing. And that'll be something that we look at too after we get that preliminary donation is what areas are we missing, to send a follow-up email that's specific saying, thank you so much for donating, these are some sizes that we're looking for, and whether an alum who is that size is able to donate or alums choose to buy new that are those sizes, I can see either of those happening.
Advisor Tahar.
You spent some time, obviously, you said cutting down your budget to the absolute needs right now, and it's just getting started, and I think people are really excited about it. What might be, where would you like to see things a year from now, or what would you ultimately like that space to become for students?
Yeah, so something we talked about today, so our budget was bigger because we were thinking, oh, we're gonna get, cute new stuff, it's gonna be boutique-y. And right now, maybe starting off that isn't the best avenue to go through with, funding being short. Maybe next year we can incorporate that into a budget before, while it's getting formed. But we really want it to be not like a dingy, here, come to this closet because you're low income or you can't afford it or you're out of state. We don't want it to be a shameful process for people. We want students to have access and for it to feel like a fun experience, like, I need this and I don't have access to it, but I get to go to this cool place because my school cares about me, and we want to help all Bennies have that experience. So really making it feel like a warm, welcoming place, and not oh, I have to go to Lower Murray to, sneak into this closet, and I don't want people to know that.
Here, one time.
Vice President Weekly.
Kind of going off of Advisor Terhar's question, how will this be sustained in the future? I know that you are an employee here and everything, but are you going to try and have a Senate ambassador, someone work with you every year? How do you plan on sustaining it for say the next 5 years to make sure that the money that we put into it now is sustained?
So as of right now, I am currently the student lead through my internship. So Mary Geller, when she continues to have our interns, they will be the student lead and take my position when I decide to graduate. And then we are also having 2 managerial positions. So that will be sustained. We are considering having a position within the IWL office where they specifically are in charge and this is their big task.
And then my second question, more of a comment. I think it would be, if all works out, you guys end up making this a super cool thing. I think that it would be awesome to report back to alums that have donated, maybe take pictures of the bennies in their clothes and send them back to kind of encourage the donation process and make it a cool, more fun, lighthearted thing. So I return my time.
Advisor Kleist.
A very cool idea. Don't overlook the fact that we have faculty and staff who would love to support our students in this way, and so you reach out. Feel free to reach out. Not that professors are the best dressed, but I think there's a lot of people that would bend over backwards to help out. Thank you. I return my time.
Trustee Aguirre.
Just another suggestion to go off Advisor Kleist. I know the Board of Trustees meetings are coming up in mid-November. I would love it to mention it to them as well, and maybe perhaps you can get donations from them too, close-wise. So just another suggestion. I'll return my time.
Are there any other questions for our guests today? Seeing none, thank you very much. All right, moving on to Roman numeral 2, letter D, open forum. Are there any guests wishing to address the St. Clair Senate today? Seeing none, we'll move on to Roman numeral 3, board reports. Letter A, president's report. Without objection, the chair will now pass.
I accept.
All right, hello ladies, happy Wednesday. I hope that your brains aren't too far into a long weekend yet, even though it's coming up. The first point that I just want to touch on today is about the senators' open forum, so Roman numeral 3, letter G. As you'll notice, there are a couple names behind there now. This is the point that I touched on last time, so we're just going to have 3 senators every meeting update us on what projects they're working on, what progress they've made, things they've accomplished since they last shared those details. By no means are they the only people allowed to talk during open forum. Everyone is allowed to give project and committee updates whenever they feel they should as well. Another point, at our exec board meeting last night, we did discuss this. It seems like our senator open forum is getting a bit lengthy. And so to try to restrict that a little bit, make sure that our meetings are running quickly and efficiently, we would like to encourage you when you bring up events, have them be events that you're involved with in your capacity as a senator. And I think that that's really important. So, for example, if Vice President Weekly, or when Senator Weber worked on the Fine Arts Programming Input session and brought that up to us, that was in her capacity as the Academic Affairs Representative. That was something that she was working on as a senator. So just trying to encourage you to limit the events that you're announcing. And if you do have other events that you want to draw to the Senate's attention that you're not specifically working on, but maybe you're involved in through other organizations, those are things that can be emailed to Vice President Weekly to go out on Motivational Monday every week, and can also go with announcements on your board reports, which everyone should also be looking through and reading, because those are really important to know what's going on. The next short thing that I have is that St. John's Senate, as many of you should know, all of you should know, had their open forum on Monday about off-campus culture after the emails that were sent out last week. It was great. A lot of senators attended it. I was there myself. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to myself or another senator who was there. I know Senator Wen and Senator Robinson were also live streaming on some of the Facebook pages. So definitely check them out if you weren't able to be there. It's really important for us to know what the student opinion is, what the student perspective is, so that we can appropriately voice and frame those opinions. We also did open our open forum up to guests today, but it seems like most people thought that the St. John's Senate open forum was adequate. But we did want to ensure that Benny's felt that they had the same opportunity to express their opinion as Johnny's. And with that, I return my time.
Are there any questions for President Steenberg?
So you're gonna say
I'm going to keep
none.
Seeing none, we will move on
She's
to
gonna run it.
Roman numeral 3, letter C, Executive Board Report. It's me, so. I don't know where to go from here. Trustee Angrad. You want to do the Executive Board Report?
Yeah.
Oh, is it advisors right now?
Yeah.
Bring it up, okay. Moving on to Roman numeral 3, letter B, Advisors Report. Advisor Chair Hart.
All right. I hope that everybody has a great long weekend, whether you're able to go home or go someplace else, are going to enjoy the beauty and quiet, hopefully, of the campus over these next couple of days. Take that time to rest, to rejuvenate, and to kind of bounce back again for the remainder of the semester. I think long weekend always arrives like just in the nick of time for everybody. It's been a little bit tough with a lot of things that are going on campus. I think there are a lot of student issues, kind of in a general population way. In my position, I oftentimes work with students who are struggling for a lot of different reasons, and there have been some particularly difficult and heartbreaking situations that our students are going through, and that kind of hurts everybody's heart when you're going through that. And I think also on a national level and international level, there have just been a lot of really horrific, horrible things that are happening, from natural disasters to the shooting in Las Vegas, to other things that happen on a smaller scale in each one of our lives, whether it's deaths or harm or family difficulties, whatever it might be. But I think it's important to kind of stay focused on what's important, and to be kind to each other, even in moments where we're not agreeing with necessarily how things are, how things need to be. Lady Gaga has this whole kind world. I don't know what the official name is. She has a website. She's doing stuff with Starbucks and the Dalai Lama, because it's Lady Gaga, right? But I've caught a couple of different interviews with her, and there are two quotes that I want to share with you that I'm trying to carry with me, because as much as I say this, I know that I want to try to incorporate more kindness and compassion in the things that I do, and set aside sometimes the impatience or frustration that I have. And one of her quotes is, and there's more to this, but I thought this part was an important part: kindness is a free currency from a well that will never dry up. We always have more kindness that we can extend to others, and it doesn't go away. We don't use it up. It doesn't empty itself out. There's always more that we can extend to others. And then this one, and maybe this is particularly resonates for me, because thank you to the people who posted the live feed. I was watching from my home on my couch as the forum on Monday night was taking place. And I think there are just a lot of issues where sometimes students and administration or the community, we're not always in the same place. And it's easy to kind of start pointing fingers and be angry and upset and pass judgment on the other side or the other people, whatever that other may be. And I think this is just a nice reminder. We are healthier and happier when we live our lives with compassion. Our communities are stronger when we treat each other with generosity and respect. And I hope that that's the spirit of the work that I do in my day-to-day work, not always because I'm not perfect, and I hope that that's the spirit and intention of the work of the Senate and for each one of you individually as you make your way on our campuses. Have a safe and relaxing and wonderful long weekend. Look forward to seeing everybody again next week when we're back. I return my time.
Are there any questions for Advisor Tanner? Seeing none, the chair will pass back.
I accept. Advisor Kleist.
Just two things very quickly. One, for this weekend, I give here to what Advisor Tanner had to say. Be selfish with your time and your obligations and take time for you. Put yourselves first. And second, when you see these things going on in our community that cause problems between people, I encourage you to be part of the solution. It's easy to jump on and say, yes, 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 I agree, that's wrong. It's harder to say, what can we do to fix this and be part of that. So I encourage you to do so.
Are there any questions for Advisor Kleist? Senator Elmy.
It's more like, thank you guys for the more wishes and thank you for your advice. You guys are amazing. Return my time.
Any other questions for Advisor Kleist? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to letter C, Executive Board Report, Vice President Weekly.
Hello, ladies. The exec board met last night, and we talked about a few things. We obviously talked about the agenda for today and everything, a lot of the funding requests. We went over specifically the Benny Closet funding request and went through and kind of filtered through that and found, as you saw today, we had to amend the motion quite significantly from what it was yesterday. We just decided to fund the bare, kind of like the bare bones, build it from the ground up kind of things, and then have it slowly but surely evolve. We also talked about, President Steenberg brought up a cool idea about possibly having a pop-up Senate meeting to create visibility, like during elections, or just visibility in general, in Fireside, so that people can see what we do, people walking by and see everything. So it's kind of an idea that we have in the works as an exec board. Also, another thing that Public Relations Webster brought up is possibly having a town hall for a semester recap, starting off with a joint town hall so that people can see what our goals have been and where we're going to go from here, just to kind of recap on the goals that we started at the beginning of the semester and how we worked through those. We got an update from Benny of the Month, from Treasury Tate. So she actually came up with a really cool idea. We're going to have one Benny per Benedictine value per month. So finding a Benny that exemplifies the expectations of, for instance, the Benedictine value hospitality. And so that's a cool thing that's also in the works. We talked a lot about our capital expenditures project. An update for all of you, we are getting a new crosswalk in front of Lutmer and Centen, so there will be press a button and the sign flashes so that everybody can see, because I know even though there are light poles, they are very dim and it is very dark. And sometimes us young drivers are a little speedy. So also our other capital expenditures that we're working on. Oh, also the new crosswalk is not going to cost us anything. So we're saving pennies on that. Also the hydration station talks. We are starting off in West Apartments and then going to slowly but surely work possibly to the workout room because there's no water fountains in there right now. And that is all we talked about. With that, I return my time.
Are there any questions for Vice President Weekly? Senator Wen.
Is there a list of different places that the hydration stations are where they'll be fixed? Is there a definite list, or is it just as long as you go?
Fixed as in, like, are they broken or where they're going to be put?
Yeah.
I believe, who's working on that? You'll contact to Treasurer Tate.
Senator Geiger will be discussing this in her open forum, so we can move to something.
Any other questions for Vice President Weekly? Seeing none, we'll move on to letter D, co-funding board report, club allocations, Chair Stokes.
Alright, so CFB met on Monday, we made quite a few allocations. Our first one was for $1,074 to the pre-law club for their U of M event. Our next one was $946 to the pre-law club for their McAllister event. These are all like Model UN things, by the way. They're not just like random events they like to do. But the next one is $183 for Asian Club for their haunted house, and that's the Friday before Halloween. The next one is $1,342 to Swing Cats. They're bringing in 2 professional instructors from the cities to come up here. Our next one was $70 to the French Club for their film festival. And our next one was $10,000 to the Ski and Snowboard Club. They're going to their annual Jackson Hole trip. So if you want to sign up for that, look for that email because they only take 5 Bennies and 5 Johnnies from every class. So it's first like 5 and 5. So like sign up right away. And then the last one was to the Joint Student Muslim Society for $350 for their interfaith breakfast. And that was all of them.
Are there any questions for club allocations, Chair Stokes? Seeing none, moving on to letter E, budget update, Treasurer Tay.
Alright, so far we have spent $15,929 of our discretionary funds. So that is 32% of our entire budget. So this means that our budget currently sits at $34,138.44. One more time. $34,138.44.
Are there any questions for Treasurer Tay? Senator Thomas.
I know there was one time you told us about some budget that we had to spend before a certain time, or we lost it. Can you maybe say that number again and the date?
So the budget that you're referring to is the capital expenditure budget. So we have $10,000 to allocate towards different capital expenditures. And like VP Weekly was referring to in her board report, we have different capital expenditures, and like she mentioned, the hydration station in West Apartments, the hydration station in possibly in the fitness center, and then Grips McDonald's stairs, and different things like that. So right now what we're doing is we're waiting for the actual dollar amount to specifically take out that amount from our budget. So right now we don't know the dollar amount. We have some estimates, but we don't know the actual price of these capital expenditures. So when we do find that out, we will deduct that from our budget, and I will keep you all updated with that too. So.
And I think that Vice President Weekly was listening. It comes under that.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Senator Simonette.
Just a question. So with the capital expenditure, it isn't up to the whole Senate as to what to do with that money, or
it was open to the whole Senate, and we sort of decided by the end of September we were gonna come up with ideas. So the ideas for the hydration station in West Apartments was from a senator. The idea with about the crosswalk was from a senator. The idea with the Grips McDonald's stairs was a personal one of mine. So it was from senators, and we kind of opened the entirety of September for senators to sort of throw out ideas. So now we're in the process of getting those ideas put to fruition. So
it comes from a senator to the exec board, and then the exec board makes the decision. Okay.
In other words, yeah.
And also to clarify, Wendy is the point person on that, spending that budget. So she and a couple other senators are working together to make those decisions.
Thank you. I return my time.
Any other questions for Treasurer Tay? Seeing none, moving on to letter F, St. John Senate update, Senator Amboard.
Thank you everyone for having me. My name is Matt Amboard. I'm one of 2 first-year representatives on St. John Senate. Since this is my first time meeting most of you, I'm from Wausau, Wisconsin, so if anyone is also from Wisconsin, that's pretty cool. There's not many of us here, there's only like 5. in the first year class, so that between St. Ben and St. John's, I was kind of surprised. But yeah, so I'll go over the minutes that we covered on Monday. Obviously, the open forum was the biggest event. I'll get to that in a second. First, at the end of the meeting, Vice President Fawning, for capital improvements, we approved the movement for $2,850 for 6 lawn chairs on the Tundra. The reason that the price was so high is because we're going through the Abbey, so Abbey woodworking, so sustainable wood, a little bit higher quality too. It's something that will for sure last, which is nice. And then at the beginning of our forum, Father Doug Mullen came in and he spoke, and he basically wanted to dissolve some misconceptions that were formed after the email was released to the St. Ben's and St. John's student body. He said that the mayor of St. Joe's came to the faculty at St. John's for assistance. It wasn't the other way around. And he says that problems have been on the increase this year. There's been more students involved in different events that have been brought to the attention of the school. There's more citizen complaints about noise, litter, and vandalism. And he said the thing that really brought these incidents to the attention of the faculty at St. John's was the belligerent students threatening police, like the police officers felt threatened. So he came to the open forum to hear student complaints, and then at the end he went back and retreated. So I'll get to that later. And okay, so there's basically, I guess the best way to describe all the student comments in the most concise way as possible is there was 2 different branches, if you want to, that term fits. The first was the social. There's 3 key reasons for that. The first is that if you're pushing students who are drinking out of St. Joe's and back onto campuses, there's going to be an increase in sexual assault in the dorms because there's less bystanders. A bed is in closer proximity versus if someone's in town and someone's trying to participate in that act, they have to convince someone to leave, get in a car or walk. So it's just that there's less time, or there's less time in the dorms for someone to notice something or someone to say something and speak up. In addition, in the dorm, people that would be getting together and sharing a room would be close friends, and the max number is 8. So there's just less bystanders, and there'd be a lesser chance that someone would speak up. The second point was that this would increase the strain on campus resources. So for life safety, FRs and RAs, there'd just be more going on campus versus downtown. And then the third was that enrollment will drop. This would increase tuition costs for Johnny's and Benny's because students aren't going to want to stay somewhere where they can't drink. That was the argument proposed. Then another student got up and brought up the community aspect of the argument. He said that there's restrictions on gathering size at St. John's. He said 25 is the max that you could do it. There's a hall down by Flint Town, I forgot the name, but he said that that's the biggest number. And then the second thing that he said is that students feel policed. There was a member of the Senate who came up, he's of legal drinking age. He said that he got ID'd 6 times at South Bar within a period of an hour. He felt really frustrated and violated that was happening to him. And he said that he saw police cars drive about every 30 seconds on his walk to Sal's and on the way back, with their windows down listening. So a lot of students just were really, really upset about that. And in addition, several students voiced their anger with the trouble off campus with their minors or their citations given out by the St. Joe's Police Department, how that's affecting their life on campus now that they can't apply for, or their chances to apply for residential housing in Flint Town or for their football team, stuff like that is being affected because of something that happened off campus. So a little bit of upset there. Father Doug Mullen got back up, just kind of re-summarized what he said in the beginning, and then he said that he didn't have solutions right now, but he said that the community will work on something. He said he'll get back. So, and then later tonight, the St. John's Senate is meeting to discuss some solutions to the issues in St. Joe's. So we just kind of have the open forum as a way for students to voice their concerns, and then now tonight we're going to take those and hopefully come up with a solution for such a complex problem as this. So with that, I return my time.
Are there any questions for Senator Anborn? Vice President Weekly.
Thank you so much for coming and giving us this great update. I know not everybody could make it and not everybody could hear about what happened, so it's nice to hear that you guys kind of hit it head on and got the answers that we all need as a joint Senate to figure out what we need to do further from here. Also, welcome. Love to see the first year up here. Well, I mean, 1 of 2. And no questions. Just thank you very much for coming. Thanks for the good questions. I return my time.
Are there any other questions for Senator Anborn? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to letter G, open forum. Are there any senators wishing to address the St. Ben's Senate? Trustee Angarag.
Hello, ladies. Just a little project update. I have been working with Angie Kerwick, who is the Alum Association to the Board of Trustees. So she's like an alum representative. She's like me, an alum but for the Board of Trustees. I've just been kind of talking to her briefly, and I'll be presenting next Wednesday about Take a Benny to Lunch. It's just a really good way to connect with alums. They'll give great advice. I'll present more on that. I've created some advertisements for the student population. She really wants to see a growth of number in that event. It's not really an event. And I've been working with President Steenberg for the Student Leadership Summit about getting a couple of Board of Trustees member and working with the President's office. It's more of President Steenberg's task. However, I've just been helping her here and there. And another thing that I came up with is I've been trying to think of more alternative ways to get down to the airport cheaper. And it's $60 to get to the airport and then $60 to come back for Executive Express per person. So overall it's $120. I thought that was a lot of money. And I talked to a representative for Jefferson Line briefly, and he said that he would send me an email back with different quotas. And the other thing I've been working with is Trustee Eichten about bringing Peyton Head, who's an inspirational speaker, for next spring, and working with different clubs on collaborations. And with that, I return my time.
Senator Greiger.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to touch upon the hydration stations and the capital expenditures that have been mentioned previously in this meeting. So I have been kind of spearheading the one in West Apartments because my roommate felt very strongly about this but wouldn't write an email to the St. Ben Senate, so I wrote it for her. So the cost, what will come out of our capital expenditures budget is $3,000 is what we've been currently quoted at for one in West Apartments. And the reason why we identified West Apartments is because there is not one actually located in any of the 8 buildings. The closest one is in Gretzky Fireside, however that one isn't very reliable. I'm sure some of you might have noticed that, but you can't always get water there, versus the res halls where there's actually one on every single floor. So we just identified a need there. It's cheap because the apartments are made of wood, so it's easy to install. It's easy to get water there because there's a closed piping system. We do need to pick a building, so I'd be open to hearing your thoughts on what West Apartment. We are thinking that one of the back 4 though. So not the 4 that are facing Gretzky, but the ones on the back side, just because they are further. So please give me your thoughts on that. That's something the Senate will be deciding. And then additionally, if we do have some extra money come March or come the end of the year, Treasurer Tate and I have been talking about potentially getting another one in West Apartments, but this time in one of the front 4 buildings, just because water is important. And then once we pick a location, it will get done pretty quickly. And then VP Weekly actually brought up the hydration station, the St. Ben's Fitness Center, so that's something that Brad is checking on to see if it's possible. It is harder to install though than one in West Apartments, just given the high nature, the high traffic nature of the St. Ben's Fitness Center. It'd be pretty difficult to say you're not allowed to be in this area for this amount of time. And then there is also actually 2 hydration stations within 20 feet of the fitness center. So is it too much to ask to walk outside versus, getting water there? So that's just a point that's being brought up as well. So that's capital expenditures, and then I just wanted to update you all on the Alcohol Culture Committee. So that is something that I'm chairing along with Senator Hansen from St. John's. So we met last night, and we kind of addressed the open forum issue that's been coming up and the student concerns. So I've also been working with Senator Schleif from the St. John Senate, who's Chelsea's counterpart for community representative, and he has given me a multi-page document of student concerns that he's already been compiling, anonymous student concerns. So if anyone's curious, I can share those with you. They're pretty interesting. I'm not going to share them here though. So as a committee, we kind of identified 3 major routes that we can take for a solution. So that's our goal. Is we've heard a lot of issues. How can we work on the issues that we found or that have been brought forth? So one of the first ones that we want to do, and I'll probably be tapping all of you on, is meeting with the residents of St. Joe. So we hear a lot about, the residents say this, the residents say that, but actually having boots on the ground and actually talking to the residents themselves and looking to address 2 key areas, kind of right off campus where
yellow, where there's a house that's yellow, is located. And then also working towards Ash Street. There have been a lot of complaints from over there, so targeting those two areas and gathering input about weekend culture from the residents of St. Joe themselves and working with them for possible solutions. This would be a joint Senate effort, so it would probably likely be like a weekend morning. And then we would then like to bring it to the city council meeting. So the city council meets twice a month, and having a really strong, I think, Senate presence there would be very beneficial for us. And just meeting the people that are actually creating the laws and the rules that affect the city that we all live in. So being able to present the student concerns there and the resident concerns as well. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If any of you are more curious, I have more information, but I think that's the most important stuff. So with that, I would turn it down.
Senator Ali. So I'm currently a club auditor, and I've been noticing that my treasurers were like just newly informed to do a job. So they would constantly send me emails about how to plan budgeting, how to complete an audit, and then etc. And so I've been working with student activities, and I've also been working with Trish. We've been finding essentially like creating a guideline step by step, instructing them like the basic things of how to do a request form, how to do the audit, how to just basically stay on point with everything as a treasurer, so they weren't penalized, so they couldn't like ask for funding for their clubs. So I recently finished that up, and we sent out a mass email from my treasurers. I'm going to be contacting my other two club auditors and send it to theirs. And then right now, currently, the project I really want to work on, I'm super excited about it, is a lot of bennies have been complaining to me about how they have like really bad treatment at work. And so I'm reaching out to student development currently. I'm hoping, like once I get in contact with somebody in student development, to also start in job employment, to like essentially like just talk about the issues they're having, because there's been some really disrespectful treatment of bennies in certain job areas. And so I'm trying to figure out why, what's caused it, and what's going on about that. So that is my current goal. Hopefully I get connected to somebody soon. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's my time.
Are there any other senators? Senator Robinson.
My question was for Senator Berger. When you guys are thinking of placing the hydration stations, have you guys thought about some of the safety precautions of making sure you don't place it near any of the parking lots for like when people go late night to want to get water? Maybe I'll need time to Senator Berger.
I can't say that that's been considered based off the conversations with maintenance. You can do it in any of them. I think the thought though with the 4 back ones is just because it's farther for them to get to Gretzky, so it would make more sense. It's kind of just an arbitrary decision that we're making is which building to put it in. I guess if you have a thought that one building might be better than another due to parking lots or things like that, I'd love to hear that. I return it.
Treasurer Tay.
Okay, so this is something that just came to me this past week. So I know we're all busy women, we all have a whole lot to do, but I feel that it's imperative that each and every single one of us takes intercultural events very seriously and start attending them, in other words. So I decided to take it upon myself to kind of bring back an initiative that we did last year in Senate, where we had, it's almost similar to the St. John Senate, except it's not mandatory for CSB senators, but it's highly encouraged that you do attend these events. So I will create a form, so a form that allows each senator to be able to track what events they attended, and sort of like a reflection form, and the link will be on the campus page, so you can always get access to that. So that's just something I want you to all be thinking about, and events will go out through Motivational Mondays, or it'll be on the campus page also. So.
Club Allocations Chair Stokes.
So the Sexual Assault Prevention Committee sent out their bystander program promo last Friday, and only from one email blast from the Senates and 4 different clubs we're collaborating on, we already have 50 plus people that signed up. So super, super cool. We're gonna send it out again on like this coming Thursday, and then again and again and again, and we're gonna easily get like 400 people. I'm really excited. Tell your friends, tell everyone. Return my head.
Are there any other senators wishing to address? Senator Simonet.
Yeah, the Senator Berger, thank you so much for what you're doing for addressing the St. Joe community. During the Millstream Art Festival, I was working for sustainability, and sorting the different compost and recycling. And I got into this conversation with a woman who asked me if I went to St. Ben's, and she told me how she doesn't feel at home anymore here in St. Joe, and that the students are kind of taking over. Like now she doesn't do any shopping in St. Joe or come to local blends because there's no more parking spots and things like that. And we just had a really intimate conversation, and I really appreciated hearing her perspective. And coming from a small town with 2 colleges where I really benefited from growing up in a place with 2 colleges, and it was like a collaboration between the Northfield community and the colleges. So I think what you're doing is really great, and I would love to help in whatever way, and I think that we do need to build that bridge. So just thank you. I return my time.
Any other senators wishing to address the Senate? Seeing none, we'll move on to Roman numeral 4, new business, letter A. Motion to allocate $4,500 to extending the link for their documentary travel expenses.
Second.
There's been a motion by Senator Thomas and a second by Senator Robinson. Senator Thomas, your first speaking turn.
I'm for funding this. The presentation was really good, as well as the breakdown. And I think that is something that will benefit them and the CSB community as well. So I'm for funding it.
The floor is now open for debate. Are there any senators wishing to debate this motion? Vice President Weekly.
I think I am all for, I know I am all for funding this motion. I think that extending the link consistently goes above and beyond what I would ever expect college students to do, like go travel to India and make a documentary. I think that that's so awesome and what a cool experience for them to be able to do something like this. And I think it just adds to the multitude of experiences students have in their student experience here, being able to join a club like this. So I'm all for it, and I would love to hear any dissent. I return my time.
PR Representative Webster.
Yeah, I agree with VP Weekly. It may seem like a kind of a large number compared to other things that we request, but if you think about it and you look at their budget, we are giving a really small piece of the pie that it takes for them to create this, I like to say, masterpiece that they do. As someone who's like kind of does some media production stuff, the things that they do is really, really cool, and it's really great for not just themselves but also the school, and they win really cool awards. And yeah, I think what they do is great, and I'd be happy to help support them. So with that,
Treasurer Tate.
Motion to amend, motion to read, motion to allocate $5,000, $112 to extend the link for their documentary travel expenses.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Treasurer Tate and a second by Vice President Weekly. Treasurer Tate, your first speaking turn.
All right, so if everyone could refer to their cost breakdown. All right, so where this amendment came from was, so I looked at the airfare and to continue with the 60% of that, ground transportation, continue with the 60% of that, lodging, continue with the 60% of that, but visa and insurance, I remember at our exec board meeting yesterday, we talked about possibly this being like a registration fee. And if this would be seen as a registration fee, then it would not be we would not take 60% of that amount. So then you would substitute 180 for 300, and if you total that up and multiply it by 3 pennies, you would get $5,112.
We will now open debate on this amendment. Are there any senators wishing to debate this amendment? Vice President Weekly.
I agree that I want to fund them as much money as we can, but I don't necessarily know how comfortable I feel just making a scrambly decision saying that we can just say that the visa and insurance, put it under the registration fee and kind of fluctuate with our guidelines. I'm not completely set on the amendment. I return my time.
Are there any other senators wishing to debate this amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of the amendment to read motion to allocate $5,112 to extending the link for their documentary travel expenses, please signify by raising your hand. Please raise them high. Opposed? Abstentions. Amendment passes 6-5-2. Returning to the original speakers list, there is no one on the speakers list. Is there any senators wishing to debate this motion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of motion to allocate $5,112 to extending the link for their documentary travel expenses, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 13-02. Moving on to letter B, motion to allocate $2,550 to the Outdoor Leadership Center for Fall 2017 clinics, activities, and gear replacements and additions.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Senator Simonette and a second by Senator Robinson. Are there any senators? Nope, Senator Simonette, your first speaking terms.
I am for funding the Outdoor Leadership Center. I believe that the Banff Festival really adds something unique to our campus, as well as the other outdoor adventures. I think that our school is a place where students do spend a lot of time outdoors and in nature, so it's good to have a center that is for this. My only apprehension is that it is currently half funded by the St. Ben Senate and half funded by the St. John Senate, and I'm just not totally sure if half of the resources of the Outdoor Leadership Centers are allocated towards Benny and the other half towards Johnny's. There's a part of me that feels like all these things should be funded, but not all by the St. Ben Senate, as there are some resources that as a Benny I don't feel I have the same access to if I were to live at St. John's campus. I return my time.
The floor is now open for debate. Are there any senators wishing to address the Senate? Club allocations, Chair Stokes.
So I really like this idea and everything that it brought to us. However, I have some opposition to $500 for a graphic design, and we're paying someone some chunk of its money as well for them to make it. So our money's going to someone else to pay him to do it than to make it. So I want to hear more on that. Return my time.
Vice President Weekly.
I also have a couple stipulations. I looked at the fund guidelines, and it says that we tend to, in our tend to not section, pay more than $100 for prizes per group per year, and also pay more than $100 for advertisements. And I'm thinking that the new rebranding thing is going to be 100% for advertisements, so I don't know how I feel comfortable about technically giving $250 if we're splitting it between senates. We're going $250 or $275 over our limit of what we typically tend to spend on ads and advertisements and prizes. So I would like to hear people's thoughts on that. I return my time.
PR Representative Webster.
Yeah, I do understand the hesitation around the rebranding logo type thing. The only thing I do see it as something different than advertisements because it's their brand, and what we would be it's hesitating to give so much money for someone to design something, but we wouldn't be paying for the printing of that. And I think that's what everyone interprets our guidelines differently, but when I read the guidelines, it says advertisements. I'm thinking actual, printing things for certain events. If someone has one event and comes to us, and they want to spend, $400 on printing posters, that's what I think of when I think of advertisements. And then about the kind of splitting the cost 50-50, I also see how that can be murky, but you can tell that they want to be here just as much as we want them to be, and they're trying the hardest that they can to do the best with the cards that they're dealt, with the OLC being at St. John's. And that's merely just the location. And I would think more about who's attending these events than where the actual equipment is housed, just because they are trying really hard to get things here, and with that, I return my time.
Senator Geiger. Senator Robinson.
I want to go back to VP Weekly's point. I do not feel comfortable with the logo for the fact that we do have a marketing office on campus that they are able to go through, as well as they did reach out to students on campus. I think they've been given enough resources for that specific entitled thing. Also, regarding the BAMF, however that's pronounced, we've already funded part of that through PRP. I don't feel comfortable adding more to that amount, even though it is a big event. And I'd just like to hear what people think regarding those two funding requests.
Senator Thomas.
I do agree with what Senator Webster was saying about considering the participation versus what actual equipment is here at CSB, and he did mention about having some issues with the rec center, which of course, being in it, you know all the details, but we all know about having difficulties with working with the different organizations. And Benny's also have access to the things at SJU. I know I've rented a bike from SJU and things like that before, so it's not like Benny's can't use it as well, even if it is there. And I want to look at their dedication, like Senator Webster said. They said they're using their own cars and things like that to try to get it over there. So I'll take that into consideration as well. Their dedication and things like that to do what they can for both SJU and CSB. And as far as the branding, I do think it's a bit costly as well. And they didn't really have I would say, a good reason besides how it looks to not work with people on campus. So I wouldn't be comfortable funding that much, and especially if it doesn't really follow our guidelines as well. Because I do consider branding a bit of like advertising. Because when you give out shirts and things like that, you're advertising your club or organization. Better kind of
Vice President Weekly.
Now that I think about it, in past years, we have done funding through PRP as well as the OLC. They've come to us for the BAMF thing specifically, like they've come to us for both, and we've typically given money to both organizations for the same event.
Treasurer Tate.
My only reservation is how sort of easy it was that the presenter said BAMF, the price of BAMF increased this year. So is that something that is going to continue being an increasing cost, or is that something that's going to be leveled off somewhere? I don't know if any senators kind of want to talk a little bit about that. It's my turn.
Senator Spalding.
Well, I am going to talk about BAMF. I'm not going to talk to your point just because I don't know. But I think with the BAMF Film Festival, I think it's such a unique opportunity to bring to our campus. I don't think we have a lot of opportunities to bring something this big to our campus. So I think it's really cool that they're willing to come to us to ask for that allocation. I also think that the point he made about the ability for students to go for free is such an important thing, because these film festivals cost so much to put on that if you were to go in the cities, if you were to go to another campus, typically they do cost money to go into. And then my final point is that we would be funding less than half of the cost overall between PRP and the OLC. And so that's just something to kind of keep in mind as far as perspective. I yield my time to
Is that as a joint Senate, because each Senate's funding it separately, or as the St. Ben's Senate we're funding less than half, or the Senate combined are funding less than half of the event?
As the St. Ben's Senate.
Okay, great.
Are there any other senators wishing to debate this motion? Senator Elmy.
I do have
chat with the and stuff, but like isn't it open from 6 to 2 to 6? Like they have like that short amount of time when it comes to like renting out bikes, because I remember once again like Donna was talking about for family weekend, like we went to the CSB one and like majority of them all were rented out. We went to the SJU one and like they were closed at the time. I mean, it was around like 2 and they were closed for the weekend. And so then thankfully I had a friend that like worked there. She's like, oh yeah, come on, Jim, like thank you so much, you saved me. And we were able to rent out a bike. And I know they have for like the bike, I know they have like you have a whole day to keep it and return the next day. But like is it possible for them like to ask if there be a possibility of extending their hours for like more students that have time to rent out and something from 2 to 6? I give my time to Emily.
No.
Yes.
Was that maybe a weekend that you were?
Yeah, a weekend.
I don't know their times either, but from experience I do know their hours maybe are a little shorter on weekends just because of student staffing compared to during the week. During the week I think they do have longer hours. And then I think we all know this, but I just wanted to clarify that like when we were talking about the bikes here and the bikes there, the bikes at St. John's are OLC and the bikes here are through the rec desk. Those aren't the same. Those aren't interchangeable. So I just wanted to clarify that too.
Before you return your time, would you want to yield your time to Senator Wen?
I would give it to Senator.
They sent out an email earlier this semester saying that they're open from 2 to 4 or 2 to 6 during the week, and then they're closed on Saturdays where we have home football games. So since it was homecoming and family weekend, the OLC was closed.
Senator Robinson.
I would just like to hear some more discussion regarding the BAMF. I just still don't feel as comfortable with the fact that we have already put so much into it, and of course they're going to go to the other Senate, but that's not majority of our money, but a big chunk of that is being paid through both Senates.
Treasurer Tate.
Motion to amend, motion to read, motion to allocate $2,000, $292.05. One more time, $2,292.05.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion by Treasurer Tate and a second by Vice President Weekly. Treasurer Tate, your first speaking terms on this amendment.
Okay, so just kind of listening to the conversation that's been going around. Seems like a whole lot of senators don't really feel comfortable funding the brand, the rebranding. So I just subtracted their total amount. So I added up all the cost that they presented to us, and I just subtracted the amount of the rebranding and divided that by 2. So between both senators, because that's sort of what they said they did. They just added it all and divided by 2. So I just added them all and subtracted 500 and divided it by 2.
The floor is now open for debate on this motion. Are there any senators wishing to debate this amendment? Vice President Weekly.
I just have a question for Treasury Tate. So we just subtracted $250.
No, so we just.
Yield my time.
I'm sorry. I subtracted, so when you total all the requests they have, you get $5,085. So that's like the total amount. And then when you divide that by 2, you get the amount they came to request from us. It's a little rounded up, but it's still the same amount. So I just took the total amount, the 5,000 something, and subtracted it by 500, which is the complete total amount of the rebranding, and just divided that by 2. So technically, yeah, I would be subtracting 250 from that.
So it sounds like their total might not have been correct.
Okay, yeah, because the numbers didn't add up, but it makes sense now that they must have just rounded up to a dollar amount or whatnot, so that makes more sense. I return my time.
Senator Thomas.
Although I was not comfortable with allocating the 500, I would say that we do the 100 that we do for advertisement or something like that, and allocate that to them instead of just subtracting the entire thing. So possibly looking into doing that.
Senator Simonette.
Yeah, going off Senator Thomas, I agree that we shouldn't reduce all of the 500. I really think it's an amazing artist that would give a logo and that could be used for years and years. But I also think there's so much validity in having a logo that is made by a student because there's really that personal student touch that brings memories and who better to draw something about what the OLC is than someone who experiences it every day. So I'm in favor of this motion. I yield my time.
Your turn.
I return my time.
Senator Nguyen.
If we are thinking about still keeping the maximum of $100 for advertising and prizes and stuff, we have to also consider the prizes that they will be purchasing for the Adventure Challenge. So I just looked on the site, when Jamie Senator
Vice
VP
President
Weekly was going through it, and it says that the prizes for the Adventure Challenge will be a total of $125, so half of that will be $62.05, and then I'm thinking whatever else is subtracting that from the 100 could be used towards the grant. If we were to just pay up to $100 to advertise.
Again, this is how I'm interpreting the guidelines is we do that per event, and since this is their budget for the entire semester, I think it's a little different.
Trustee Andrade.
Well, to go off what Senator Nguyen said, it's $125 per prizes per event. However, if you divide 125 by 2, because they're asking for it still meets our funding guidelines. So I think it's okay. Just to go back on the rebranding, I don't feel comfortable whether it's $100 or anything. I think that again with what Senator Simonette said, use the student, use the marketing office. There are tools at the school. It's creativity. I don't feel comfortable with that. So I just want to leave it at that. If anyone has anything to say. And another thing, if you look at the t-shirts that the ETL members are wearing, that was created by students, and I think they're fabulous. And with that, I return my time.
Senator Robinson.
In agreement with Trustee Ungrad, what part of our funding guidelines is that we already don't want to fund things that like events that are currently on campus. So I don't see the merit in funding a service that is already on campus because that's what office marketing is here for. They want to help students and they can go in and talk to them and have what they want created if they want something very specifically. I think there's a big benefit in using school resources. If we're going to be using student fees, I think we should highlight student attributes in the same way that IWL, when they do the Natural Beauty Week, that they have student designs, that there's a lot of merit in showcasing what our school has if they want to represent the students. I think a student or a student service should be what we put our funding in instead of a service that is currently here.
PR Representative Webster.
Something that I think is kind of cool about this opportunity for them to work with this artist is they're not just paying for the graphic, they're paying for this artist to work with them for the entire year and kind of be their like personal consultant with how they should brand on campus and how they should reach out to students with I yield my time to
Cost breakdown on the thing. MC made this.
Thank you.
I return my time.
So where was I saying that they're using this the entire year? Yeah, so it's kind of like a consultant that they'll have, and yes, I do see that you can go to the OMC for that, but I don't know, someone who works with branding and that kind of stuff, I think it's a really cool opportunity for these students to be able to get that experience to work with like an agency, if you will, or a client, and kind of get that outside of the school experience, because we are up here in St. Joe and sometimes we kind of are in our bubble, and I think it's a cool experience for them to be able to work with people who aren't on campus. And if that means, I'm not saying that we need to fund it $500, I'm just putting that this is another unique experience for these students to get.
Senator Thomas.
I have to agree with Senator Robinson and Trustee Umrock with promoting the sense of community and creativity within our own area and the student to do it. And then I think it would be bad to kind of set that standard that a group can go out on the outside, especially if it's going to be expensive, a lot more expensive, because like you said, ETL got theirs done here, a student created it, so if all the groups begin to go on the outside and hire people to do it, I think that would not be beneficial to our community for promoting creativity on our campus. So I suggest that they work a little more with the students on campus to try to get whatever they're looking for in their brand. Because the students here are very creative and very good at what they do, as we can see. So I would stay with taking the entire 500 back and not adding the 100 either.
Treasurer Tate. There's been a motion to end debate. All those in favor of ending debate, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Motion to end debate passes. All those in favor of the amendment for the motion to read motion to allocate $2,292.05 to the Outdoor Leadership Center for Fall 2017 clinics, activities, and gear replacements and additions, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 11-3-0. We will now return to our original speakers list on the motion. Treasurer Tate. Are you striking? Strike. Trustee Angaraj. Strike. PR Representative Webster.
Okay. Going back to before we were talking about BAMF, right? Okay, so at first I was really hesitant about funding the BAMF portion just because if you think about it, we would be kind of funding the entire BAMF experience as we gave money to PRP and or if we gave it to the OLC as well. But after hearing his reasoning and argument, I think it is a really unique opportunity on campus for students to go to for free. And even if they did have students spend like $5 like they have to for some FAEs, I just think that this is really unique, and I think that I'm for funding it.
Vice President Weekly.
Motion to amend the motion to read, motion to allocate $2,143 to the Outdoor Leadership Center for Fall 2017 clinics, activities, gear replacements, and additions.
Second. There's been a motion by Vice President Weekly and a second by Senator Robinson. Vice President Weekly, your first speaking turn.
Okay, so I took this, the number that is their total divided by 2, and I subtracted $400 from it so that we are paying for $100 for the rebranding, and that follows our guidelines. I think that if they really need to hire him out, they can possibly find some alternative funding somewhere else. If anyone has any questions about how I got to my number, feel free to ask. I return my time.
The floor is now open for debate on this amendment. Are there any senators wishing to debate this amendment? Senator Spalding.
Can you just repeat the number? Sorry.
Yeah, so do you see on the, it says total for the total divided by 2?
Yep.
Which one is it?
So, sorry. So the total, what she did was she took the total of this and subtracted by 400. And you get that. And then she divided that by 2, and then gives you that.
What's the $2,543?
That's the previous one, so I just did it by side by side so people can see the
What's the previous compared to now? What's the difference?
wait, say that again?
I'm confused as to where the numbers on the right column came from.
That's what you just said.
No, I took $2,543 and I subtracted
Oh.
$400 from the total of the rebranding.
So you're taking the Senate request and subtracting 400 from that.
No, the total divided by 2.
Okay.
It's not even, we're not even gonna
Did you return your check? Senator Geiger.
Treasurer Tate might be yielding to you. I thought we were using the 2,292 number. It was our most recent, like up-to-date number based on that last amendment. So I'm just confused with this spreadsheet. Can somebody?
So I think I understand what's going on. So we amended $2,293 because we took out all of the rebranding. And so now what Vice President Weekly is suggesting is that we fund $100 of the rebranding, correct? And so the way that she went about that was by subtracting $400 from the original number. Where I think that there's confusion is that all of the numbers in the total column, in column D, are the totals for both Senates. And so we would only, in theory, be funding $250 out of the $500 for rebranding. Does that clarify some points for everyone?
I return.
Are there any other senators wishing to debate this motion?
I don't think this is nothing. I just wanna, maybe instead of worrying about what the actual numbers are going to be, maybe the conversation really is philosophically, what do we wanna fund? Because I think we get caught up in how the numbers get calculated. And then if people can kind of agree that we should only fund 100, we can do the calculation based on that, or we shouldn't fund it at all. But I think to kind of keep throwing numbers up is getting confusing. And I really think it is, how do you want to approach, the conversation seems to be around the $500 marketing thing, right? And so I think you need to philosophically come to an agreement with what we want to do with that, and then maybe change the motion to reflect that decision, rather than continue to calculate numbers. I return my time. I don't know what I took time, I kind of so.
Treasurer Tate?
Straight.
Are there any other senators wishing to debate this amendment? Vice President Weekly.
I did the math wrong, so, I'm not gonna tell you how to vote, but
Do you return your time?
I returned it.
Senator Robinson.
So what math did you do so you can vote correctly? There you go back.
If we're technically splitting between both senates, I don't know why they didn't just come to us with one for St. Ben's, and instead of giving us the full thing and then splitting it up and having it on the same spread, I don't know. But we would only have to subtract $250 from our total cost because we're splitting the rebranding with St. John's. So we will have to redo this. I return my time.
Thank you. I return mine.
I can vote, that would happen during debate. Are there any, Senator Simonette?
I think it's really true that we need to speak about this philosophically. Thank you for bringing us back to our attention. I think that with whatever choice we make, we're bringing a message towards what we support. And I think that if we half fund it, it kind of means that we want like some student creativity, but also someone to come in. And so I think that, and maybe that's what we do want, but I would just like to hear more opinions about funding some of it, but not all of it, and what the intention behind that is. I return my time.
Just briefly, for parliamentary purposes, we are currently still debating the motion on the amendment to read $2,143, which I think that we have established the math is not correct on that, so that would not be a motion that we pass. At this point, my recommendation is to go forward, fail this amendment, and then return to the philosophical discussion on whether to do that. That being said, Treasurer Tate.
Move to previous question.
Second. There's been a motion to end debate by Treasurer Tate and a second by Senator Simonette. All those in favor of ending debate on this motion, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion to end debate passes 14-0-0. We will now return to our previous speakers list, and Senator Robinson.
I just want to go back to something that Senator Nguyen and VP Weekly mentioned about the prizes. So I'm seeing underneath their Adventure Challenge, they have a prize as well as a medallion hunt. So are we going to consider their 100 as two separate things, or are we going to consider 100 prizes together? And I can yield to the Treasurer today.
Yes, so this spreadsheet is a spreadsheet that's a combination of both the requests from the CSB Senate and the St. John Senate. So whatever you see, whatever it costs, that should be divided by 2. So when you see prizes, you divide that by 2, and that would be $50, which does align with our funding guidelines.
Wendy, would it be possible to make a column that is all of their total numbers divided by 2?
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait, like
The totals column, just take those numbers, divide it by 2, so that everyone knows how much everything is actually going to cost for the same by the Senate. Senator Greiger.
I'm still uncomfortable with the prizes because in our funding guidelines, it's 100 per group per academic year. So taking into consideration though that there are 2 and the 2 prizes are totaling more than, I mean it's been first year since I took a math class, but more than like $50 and then that 62 is greater than 100. So we're not within our funding guidelines even after it's happened. I yield to Treasurer Tate.
But that's per event?
I'm taking my time. But I'm confused because it says more than $100 per group per academic year. It doesn't, maybe can somebody clarify, I mean, we all have interpreted it differently as Pierre Webster said earlier, but funded like per group per academic year, not per event on our funding guidelines. So their 2 prize totals are still greater than the $100 that we mentioned on our funding guidelines per group. I return my time.
Senator Nguyen. Okay. Are there any other senators wishing to debate this motion? Senator Thomas.
I just have a quick question, because I did run to the restroom for a second. So right now, I think the decision for me is we decided we're debating right now. What are we debating right now?
This is general debate, so we are not on a debate about an amendment anymore. We are debating the motion to read $2,292.05, which would include everything except for the rebranding.
Okay. Well, I agree that we should not fund the rebranding and allocate that money. And another thing is, considering prizes and considering that it was PRP, correct, that came for funding for the same, well, it was just for, the event that starts with a B. Is that the only one that we funded as well with PRP? Okay, because I was just considering prizes and things like that on both sides and both of them coming, but if it was just for that event, then I respect that.
Treasurer Tate.
I don't know if it would be easier for everyone to like go through this individually and kind of go back to what Advisor Tara was talking about and say, yes, we want to vote for this. No, we don't want to vote for this. Yes, we want to vote for this because we could keep doing this all night. Okay. I don't know how that would work, but that's what I'm suggesting. I don't know how that would work, but I just want to try.
Vice President Weekly.
So I'm getting the understanding that most senators feel comfortable funding up to our guidelines in prizes and advertisements. Okay. So that would mean that we would take away the 250
Here.
I'm asking for here, okay. And we would continue on with the prizes on all of the other events because they do follow our guidelines.
Here.
Now that we have a feel for how everyone else is feeling, I return my time.
Dear Representative Webster.
But instead of just taking away the $250, couldn't we just fund 100 of that $250?
Keeping this to $250 is funding $100. Right?
250.
It's half of the 400 that you take away.
Everyone do please stay within parliamentary procedure. I know that it's been a really long meeting, and everyone is tired, but it does help our debate proceed. Treasurer Tay.
I really do believe it's going to be beneficial for us to go through each one and individually vote if we want to fund it or not. So like, for example, Bank. I know some senators don't want to vote for it, don't want to fund that. Some senators do. Let's just vote on it. Majority carries the vote.
Here.
This might be a question from me to Jody and our parliamentarian. Is there a way to split up their request into several separate motions?
No, yes. I think that's gonna get really cumbersome. I don't know if you can just kind of do a consensus, consensus and then go back to actually voting on the motion. That,
Okay.
I think parliamentary procedure-wise, we can go with an unofficial vote throughout, kind of get the feel, raise your hand, not official to pass any motions, and then once we get a majority on each section, we can put that together, do the math, and then move to
so non-official motions are official votes.
they're not official and they're not official motions, but we can get tallies, figure out what we wanna do, Wendy can add it up for us, and then someone can motion to amend, and then we can vote on the amendment.
So do what I need to do at this point is say, everyone has spoken.
We can just give Wendy the floor,
Sure.
and she can do it.
Treasurer Tay.
Thank you. Alright, so BAM Film Festival. If you are for this motion, or if you are for funding this, please raise your hand.
There are 14 voting members.
Are you for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if you're against it, please put your hands up. Yes, no. Yes. No? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Adventure challenge. This one's gonna be a long one. Okay. So, if you're for voting, if you want to fund the food, put your hands up. Okay, seems like everyone. Supplies, put your hands up. Everyone. Prizes, put your hands up. Guys, if you put your hands up, put it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And no's. And if you don't want to fund the prizes. 1, 2, 3.
Maybe it should be phrased, don't want to fund the prizes as they are.
As they are, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And also keep in mind, everyone, that all the numbers there, the 125 for prizes is
divided by
gonna
2.
be split.
Yeah.
That's not the divided number.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep that in mind.
So we had 6 yeses and 6 no's, and it'll come down to.
See.
I vote yes.
You have to vote.
Oh.
Prizes, I vote no. Okay, so we're going to subtract. Okay, so.
I'm having very many concerns, parliamentary procedure wise. So people don't want to fund prizes as they are, I don't think that we can just say take them off as they are. There still needs to be a motion to amend and debate and everything like that. But I think that we can move forward with the general understanding that prizes will need to be revisited.
Yeah.
Okay. I just put some more prices.
I think at the end of this, we would then amend this number and vote on that. And then have a debate on this new number that we all kind of have a consensus about. So there'd still be an amendment to the motion and get to a number that would all. Yeah. Okay.
So calculate the new number? Okay. Alright. Okay, what about
So what did we say?
So can I just share an observation?
Yes.
I think that you're making this way more complicated than it needs to be.
Here.
The two things that you seem to be struggling with, because I think BAMF, like even though some people are kind of a little bit uncertain, we got the yes, no's, the majority of people are saying yes,
Yeah.
right? The issues that you're struggling with are prizes, and there's 2 events that have prizes, and your total, your half of that is $112.50 for the total prizes that they have. You will fund up to 100 for a year, okay? So I think that like breaking it down into 62.50, this, that, and other thing, your portion of their prize cost is $112. You need to say, does that fit our funding guidelines or not, and what do you want to do with it, okay? The marketing thing or the rebranding piece, you either want to fund it or not, and funding it may mean funding it in full or funding some portion of it. But I think you first need to decide as a Senate, is that something you want to do? Because I think all the other ones, people are kind of like, you're excited about the things that they were doing. So I think the conversation that I've been listening to is about how much do you fund for prizes, if anything. Keeping in mind that your total expense for prizes, if you fund it fully, is $112.50. And then what you want to do with their branding piece. And that's why I was saying, I think having that philosophical conversation and coming to an agreement about what you want to do with those 2 pieces of it, and then doing the calculation would move things along in a more efficient way. That makes sense? Okay.
Yes.
I return my time, who's ever I took it from.
Yes. So at this time, would it be most productive for us to return to general debate with that information in mind instead of going through and trying to vote on all these things individually?
And maybe focus first debate on the prize question.
Sure.
And this, like, then reach a conclusion,
Okay.
and then move the debate to the rebranding thing, come to a conclusion, and then move forward.
Okay. So, Treasurer Tay, you can stay there if we adjust numbers. Okay, so returning to our speakers list. So first, as Advisor Terhar explained, let's start off with just discussing the prizes that are listed on here, which are found under the Adventure Challenge, the Medallion Hunt. That's all that I see.
Yeah.
Senator Robinson.
I just want to echo what Senator Geiger mentioned earlier, that our funding guidelines do say that it's for that specific organization, not per group. And if they're already with these 2 things going over 100, I do not think that we should fund it for the fact they probably will come back next semester, considering this is only for this semester.
Senator Vice President Leafley.
I think that the reason we have this under the section of tend not to on our funding guidelines is because for situations like this, I think that if the $12 is going to make it easier for us and them in the situation, I think that although it is not $98 or $99.99, I think it still fits within our guidelines, being that the OLC is someone who comes in for money from us that they put on really good events, and I feel comfortable giving them the extra $12 every turn of my time.
Senator Spalding.
Well, I totally understand Vice President Weekly's point. I think it is really important to stick to our guidelines along with the fact that this is only for this semester. And so, like the point that was made before, the likelihood of them coming back and asking for more money for prizes
seems pretty likely. So I think it's very important to stick to the $100 and not go over it, and they can pick up the 12 and rather turn it down.
Club allocations, Chair Stokes.
This is more of a casual question for Treasurer Thursday. Can you form a number that's minus the $12.50 or $12 or whatever Jody said, and minus the rebranding?
Yeah.
So then, okay, so motion later. Thanks. Okay.
PR Representative Webster.
I'm for funding for prizes, and I'm for funding $100 for advertisements. I know it's really important to stick to our funding guidelines, and it is important to see this breakdown, but I also urge people to think about what the OLC does as an organization on this campus and their mission on campus, and how unique they are at St. Ben St. John's. When I visit my friends at St. Thomas or the U, they don't have a beautiful arboretum to go do activities in whenever they want. So I just think maybe we should step back and think about the OLC on campus, the presence that they have, and how unique and fortunate we are to have an organization that provides what they do on campus.
Trustee Andrade.
I feel really comfortable sticking to our guidelines, funding them $100 for advertisement. I feel really comfortable not funding them for the rebranding.
Here.
If anyone has any.
Let's also just keep debate to the prizes right now. Rebranding is on the list to touch on in a few minutes. Senator Thomas.
Sure.
Is there any other debate about the prizes? Seeing none, we can now move to a debate on rebranding. Does that seem like a good next step? Okay. Are there any senators wishing to debate the $250 for rebranding? Senator Thomas.
Yes, I do not think that we should fund that, nor do I think we should fund the $100, especially if we're already allocating the prizes. If we decide to do that, then we'll keep adding another 100 that we're putting under, or considering it as that area kind of, even though we're just kind of guessing on that one. So then we would really be allocating $200 under that, which is not our guidelines either. And because we have so many clubs that do so many, organizations that do so many good things, I don't think we should start something like deciding to consider what one does to give them 100 for that, because then we'll have to do that for everyone, and we have a lot of organizations, and that's putting out a lot more money for something that should be done on campus within our community, and we should promote supporting us first. So I do not think we should allocate the 250 or the 100.
PR Representative Webster.
I think we should still fund the $100 because maybe that will give them the opportunity to give that money to someone on campus who designs the graphic. Maybe they have like a competition. Maybe they use that for distributing their new logo around campus. Whatever they choose to do with it, I think within our guidelines we still have it. It is within our guidelines to give $100 for advertisements, and I think that's what we should do.
Here. Senator Wen.
I agree with Senator Thomas because I feel like they should allow more time to look for students who can help them rebrand, because I'm a friend, I'm in art class with her, and she was showing me her design for a new OLC logo, and she also works in SALT, does a lot of graphic designing, and she's designed a bunch of t-shirts that she has sold, so they could work with her or they could reach out to her or somebody like her to work on a new brand instead of seeking for and paying $500 for another person. With that, I return my time.
Club allocations, Chair Stokes.
Okay, so two things to say. Going off of Senator Thomas's point, I don't want to set a precedent here that we go over our guidelines for certain organizations and we not favor certain organizations, but they do such really cool things, and they do too. So I don't want to set a dangerous precedent here that have a slippery down slope. And then two, I don't want to tell them what to do with their rebranding. It's not our purpose to get into another organization's like things and offer our 2 cents. Let's like maybe take away all of our funding for the rebranding, and if they want to come back and ask for it, like I would be more than happy to hear for something that's up to $100 for whatever rebranding they want to do. So we ran into this problem a lot last year. We wanted to control things, and it's not our place to say what you should do with your rebranding. So, right time on time.
Trustee Ongerak.
I have a compromise and a new idea on the table. So in order to compromise, saying we can give them that $100, here's the $100 with the stipulation that they use the student.
Senator Flores.
Going back on the comment Senator Thomas made about the $100. I think we're kind of separating the prize money and the advertisement, but they're under the same thing of no more than 100 for prizes, giveaways, and advertising. So I think that needs to be made clear that like it would be 100 total for those and not separate.
Here.
Senator Robinson.
Just in terms of the rebranding, I understand that they are a SJU kind of house thing, but none of their logos or branding is publicized on our campus. And definitely, let me read that. So I just feel like because everything for the majority is going to be housed that regards with their logo, anything that they use their logo for isn't going to be utilized here. I don't feel comfortable branding it in the full. I understand Trustee Ongerak's compromise. However, like Chair Stokes said, sorry, hear a lot of things. I don't feel comfortable also telling them what they should do with the money that we allocate them.
Senator Thomas.
Going off with pull-up allocations, Judge Stokes said, they came to us, and I think we should debate on what they told us that they were planning to do with the money we were giving them. So I think we should focus, because even if we do consider that, we have to consult with them. We couldn't even vote on that right now, because there's no guarantee that they would say okay to that, or whatever. So, and then if it was on campus, they wouldn't even need the $100 because it's free. So I don't think that we should get into making those changes because it's just not definite.
We've reached the end of our speakers list. Senator Wen.
To bring up a point, Trustee Ongerak, you were thinking of having that compromise where if we funded $100, maybe at the time, Trustee Ongerak.
Can I take that off the table?
I know, I'm just using it as a point there. Okay, so they sent out an email looking for students, and they did have like a little motive or a prize for it, saying that if we pick your new logo, then we will give you items with your logo on it. Just putting it out there.
Are there any other senators wishing to debate the rebranding? Senator Treasurer Tate.
I just do not want people to gloss over the really, really good point Senator Flores made, that it's not just the rebranding separately from the prizes, it's all together, and it's going to, they can't exceed $100. I yield my time to PR.
Senator Thomas.
And I really want everyone to consider the students as well that do things like that, and how much that can go. Because when a student creates something like that, it's almost like doing something like this. It's taking an opportunity from some student because they can use that to further their careers or whatever they decide to do. If they do decide to go further into that, we're giving someone who's an outside source, who's not a part of our community or anything like that, an opportunity to do that, when there's another student that can use that as something to put on their resume or something to advertise themselves, and it'll just be and I would just really be against choosing someone else over our own, really, to say in short words. So I really want everybody to really consider the Bennies and Johnnies and the students here as well that we represent. And with that, I return the time.
Vice President Weekly.
After looking at the funding guidelines a little more and after Senator Flores' great point, I agree that they are all housed under the same funding guideline, and I think that kind of from the general consensus that I've been feeling, that everyone thinks we should stick to our guidelines. So I personally am for giving them $100 for prizes for the Adventure Challenge, and that's the $100 they can have because that money will go directly back towards the students for prizes for an event that students will be participating in, and the rebranding is not a direct relay back to the students. So I am personally for funding the $100 under our guidelines for the Adventure Challenge and nothing else under any category of prizes, giveaways, or advertisements for the academic year. I return my time.
Trisha Tate, would you be willing to just pull out how much the prizes for each section included with the rebranding is for the St. Ben Senate? Would you be able to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, so.
Here, Representative Webster.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I agree. I think we should just fund them $100 for prizes in that category for the year. If anyone has dissent towards that, I'd like to hear that. But if not, it's cool.
Club allocations, Chair Stokes.
Move to previous question.
Can we make a motion? There's been a motion to end debate by Club allocations Chair Stokes.
Second.
Just to be clear, moving to previous question would move us straight to a vote since we are in the general debate without further amending our motion. All those in favor of moving to previous question, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions?
What's going on?
Motion to end debate fails. So move to previous question moves the Senate straight to a vote on anything. So since we were in general debate on the entire motion, moving to previous question would move us to vote on the $2,292.05, which we got just from taking out the rebranding number. I think that we have made a lot of headway in our discussion so far, and that is not the final number that we would want to vote on, pass or fail, fund OLC or fund OLC nothing. Is everyone clear on that? So we're going to return to our original speakers list. Senator Robinson.
This might be more of a clarification question, but in terms of the rebranding, is that 500 a one-time funding thing they're asking for, and B, is it just their designer, or is it so they can get everything rebranded? I yield my time to.
They decided, or they explained to us that it was for a full year, like a consultation for the designer to help them rebrand throughout the entire year. So with their logos, so it doesn't include like purchasing T-shirts with that new logo on it. It's essentially like an artist fee. Like think of it as a honorarium or something like that.
Just so with that in mind, I am still against the rebranding just because next semester, if they do get what they decide, they might come back so they can get things, all of their logos all in order to match whatever their rebranding becomes. I return my time.
PR Representative Webster.
Motion to amend the motion to read, motion to allocate $2,280 to the Outdoor Leadership Center for Fall 2017 clinics, activities, and gear replacements and additions.
Second.
There's been a motion by PR Representative Webster and a second by Vice President Weekly. PR Rep Webster, your first speaking terms.
This has been great debate. I'm so happy that people are sticking to the guidelines and being really nitpicky isn't the right word, but like detailed. And it's nice to see, and it seems that this is a number that people feel comfortable with. If you have any dissent, I'd love to hear it.
Now the floor is now open for debate on this motion. Senator Thomas.
So this is just clarification. So this number is removing the entire 500 or the 250.
So this number basically just allocates $100 to both prizes and advertising and whatever they want to do with branding. So what we did was remove the prizes, from this amount, we remove the prizes from this amount. And to make it the math more easy, to make it not like difficult, we just put $100 for the rebranding. So that goes for the prizes and the rebranding as a total of advertising and all that. So yeah.
So we're only giving them $100 for that entire thing.
Yes, so for the prizes and rebranding, only $100.
Okay, I see.
Senator Greiger.
I'm super comfortable with this number. Thank you to our rep Webster for getting us this number. Yeah, very comfortable with this. Would love to see a vote happen soon.
Is there any other debate on this motion, amendment? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of amendment for the motion to read, motion to allocate $2,280 to the Outdoor Leadership Center for Fall 2017 clinics, activities, and gear replacements and additions, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 14-0-0. We will now return to our original speakers list on the motion. Is there any further debate on this motion? Seeing none, we will move to vote on the motion to allocate $2,280 to the Outdoor Leadership Center for Fall 2017 clinics, activities, and gear replacements and additions. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 14-0-0. Moving on to Roman numeral 4, letter C. Motion to allocate $1,780 to the Office of the College Navigator to build the Benny Career Closet.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Senator Greiger and a second by Treasurer Tate. Senator Greiger is first speaking turn.
This is awesome. I like this number. I'm very comfortable with this number compared to what we originally came to see. I think it's an incredible program. Super happy that we're doing it. I'm glad to see where it's being housed under. With that, I'll turn my time.
The floor is now open for debate on this motion. Vice President Weekly.
Speaking from an exec board member who was at the exec board last night when it was at $4,000 and I was in shock that you're about to spend $5,000. I appreciate all of the work that Senator Robinson and former Senator Salto had put in to kind of meet us in the middle and compromise with using our funds as well as funds from the institution and kind of starting from the ground up and then coming back at future days so the number isn't as intimidating. So I'm in full favor and I would like to hear if there's any dissent and if you agree, simply hear.
We have reached the end of our speakers list. Is there any further debate on this motion? Seeing none, we will move to vote. All those in favor of the motion to allocate $1,780 to the Office of the College Navigator to build a Benny Career Closet, please signify by raising your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 13-0-1. Moving on to Roman numeral 5, announcements, letter A. The next meeting of the St. Ben Senate will be on Wednesday, October 18th at 5 p.m. in Gretzky 204. Letter B, Senator Robinson will attend the next St. John's Senate meeting on Monday, October 23rd at 9:20 p.m. Moving on to Roman numeral 6, adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Second. There's been a motion by Senator Greiger and a second by Treasurer Tate. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion, this meeting is adjourned.